Hi, I'm Crystal.
And I'm Neoshia, and you're listening to the Rom-Com Detectives.
Welcome to Rom-Com Detectives, episode 36, Deep Fried Twinkie. Today, Neoshia and I will be talking about the 6th episode of Castle Season 1, Always by Retail. This episode originally aired on April 13, 2009. It was written by Gabrielle Stanton and Harry Worksman and was directed by Jamie Babbitt. Before we get started, we just wanted to remind our listeners that we are hosting a giveaway for our romantic comedy mystery novel called True Crime Lovers by Jodie Wenner. To enter, head over to romcomdetectives.com/truecrimelovers. The giveaway will end on October 15th. And also, Neoshia and I want to give a quick mention to our favorite new podcast, The TV Police. This is a new rewatch podcast that was just launched last week by actors Owen Yeoman and Tim Kang of The Mentalist. And Neoshia and I, in addition to being fans of Castle, we're also fans of The Mentalist. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and it's actually the first rewatch podcast for a show that we're covering on Rom-Com Detective. So it's been very exciting to hear
Yes, and
behind the scenes stuff.
yes, and I still anticipate every episode that you and Karen release. I just want to say, though, it's really cool if you guys check out TV Police.
TV police. It gets
Yeah.
stuck in your head. So
Yeah, those of you who've actually listened to the podcast will know that Owen Yalman does that every episode, and
at the
so I have
beginning.
started doing it. Yes, because why not? Why not do the same thing that he does?
Yeah. So they've got 3 episodes out as of today, and we anticipate another one coming out tomorrow. But it's a lot of fun, so be sure to check it out.
Yeah, check that out for sure. And also, like I said, listen to Karen and Crystal because they also have some really good episodes and thoughts and highlights as fans as well.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the case briefing for this one. Were there 2 or were there 3 victims?
There were 2
There were
victims.
2. Okay, so there's Jamal Bwansi and Darcy Cho. Cause of death for both of them were stabbing. The killer, did I get this right? The killer was the guy Baylor, right? Mukhtar
Mhm.
Baylor. Okay, yeah, because it was kind of getting a little convoluted towards the end. I was getting a little confused. Wait, who's actually the killer?
Yeah, I feel the plot on this one is slightly convoluted, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the motive was family. But there are a lot of guest stars on this one. I'm really excited to get into this because
Mhm.
okay, so first of all, there's Darby Stanfield who plays Meredith. And I don't know about you, but Meredith as a character stands out to me as being like she's pretty significant in my mind as a castle character just because she has such presence, but she's only credited with 2 episodes. So I was
Mhm.
like, really? Was she only in 2 episodes? I think I might have like maybe melded her and Gina together.
Mhm. Well, I think she has a big presence on the screen.
Yeah, yeah. She does a lot with the few episodes that she has. She's
Mhm.
very memorable. But yeah, she's from Lock and Key, Scandal, Jericho, and we actually just talked about her on The Mentalist on the season 1 episode Painted Red. She was the wife of the victim in that episode. And then there's Nikki Michaud, who played Michelle, the lady who brings the takeout food. She's from The Shield, NCIS LA, and she was also on The Mentalist. She was one of the detectives who interviews Patrick Jane after he's arrested. And then there's Aldous Hodge. This one was exciting for me because
Mhm.
he plays Ozzy. Am I saying his name right? I don't.
Ozzy, I think.
Ozzy. Okay. When I was watching the episode, I was like, why do I know his face? He looks so familiar.
Oh,
So
you didn't immediately recognize Aldous Hodge?
No, I don't like I don't know him by name, but and then when I looked at his IMDb, he's been on Leverage because I've only watched like one episode of Leverage, so I don't know him from that show. But he's been on Leverage and Leverage Redemption. He's been on Turn, Washington Spies, which I guess with Owen Yeoman.
Wow, this is turning into a Mentalist, crossover episode, isn't
I
it?
know, bro. But he's Alex Cross from Cross, which I watched. Was it? Oh, the years are blending together for me already. I think it was earlier this year,
I think so.
but I mean, I was waiting for that show to come out for a while because I've been a Alex Cross fan for a really long time, ever since like I think the 90s. I remember one of those Alex Cross books just kept me up all night. I was reading it and it's just scared the crap out of me. It was so scary.
Yeah, and so I would also mention, because I was a huge Leverage fan, during its original run.
Ah,
So I kind of knew him from, I think that's probably where I quote unquote knew him from. But he's another one of those actors. I think he did a ton of character work before he,
hmm.
kind of started getting his own like starring roles. But I would point out that he was also in the Academy Award nominated Hidden Figures.
Ah, yeah, see, I didn't see that.
Hmm.
And then we also have Michael Benyer. I don't know how to say his name, but he played Oscar. But he's been on Days of Our Lives and The Expanse. There's Don Norwood. He played Charles Oni. He's from The Sinner. It's actually a police show that I really like that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, but yeah, that one is really good and you should check that out. And he's been a Mindhunter, and he's also been a load. He's had a load of guest appearances on Numbers, Bones, The Closer, and more than one NCS, and also Law and Order LA. But yeah, lots of people who went on to have awesome careers.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get into the episode breakdown. So, the episode begins with a man speaking in a foreign language. He's conducting some kind of ritual on a dead man.
Yeah, and for me, this opening is really stylized. Kind of sets the mood. Like, obviously, we're looking at a ritualistic killer, but it also almost seems like a Halloween episode, right? Like, and
Yeah,
I this was in the spring, but it seems like an episode that would have aired around Halloween time if they
yeah.
had been on in the fall.
So, this contrasting with the next scene is a very jarring transition
Oh
because
yeah.
it goes from this ritual to Castle having wild, violent sex with a pretty redhead, and like it's to the point where they're knocking things off walls. And then once they're done, they start like naming their top 10 sexual encounters, including the one where they made Alexis. So that confirms that this is Alexis's mother. And also that she's an actress. But oh my God, it was such a, yeah. I remember when I first saw it, I was like, whoa, where did this scene come from? Because it seemed kind of pushing the limits of network TV to me.
I mean, Castle was a 10 p.m. show.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, so she drops a bomb on Castle. She says she's moving back to New York from LA. And I just love the way he looks absolutely terrified.
Uh huh. Yeah, it's like you can tell that she is someone that he has a hard time quitting.
At the scene, Espo is going over the details. He's telling them about how the victim had multiple stab wounds and contusions. So I guess that means they got beaten up in addition to being stabbed, right? That's what
Yeah,
contusions are, right? Like,
bruises.
yeah. So Beckett asked Castle for his opinion. He's just zoned out. She's like, "Are you okay?" And he just bluntly tells her, "I had sex with my ex-wife this morning." And he sounds like someone who's like seen some things. He's
Yeah, it's more of a PTSD experience than a like positive experience.
Yeah, yeah. But I love the way that they had this scene play out. Just when he says that, the guys just they're squatting down by the body, and they both look up at him like slowly at the same time. But this is where he talks about how her moving back is a special brand of hell for him, like a deep fried Twinkie. And what he means by that is that it's okay to have one once or twice a year as a novelty, but not every day.
Yeah, which is why I said she's got I like it seems like she's the one that he can't quit.
And they show you why with the previous scene. So
Right.
Beckett finally snaps Yvonne of it by telling him to have a little respect for the body and a little self-respect for himself. And he surprises them all by saying that they'll probably find a little pouch in his mouth. And they do, and inside that there's a coin with some kind of symbol on it, and he tells him it's Vodun, which Ryan says is a Western African religion. And he just kind of surprises everybody else. They're like, huh? How do you know that? He's like, what I read. But apparently, what he's been reading is Derek Storm
Mhm.
because Castle says that it was researched for his sixth novel. Um, and so I wanted to ask, like, if this was for a Derek Storm novel, how come Beckett didn't know, right? Because I mean, I love the fact that Ryan, he's so well versed in Castle's works. Like, he could
Mhm.
actually, I don't know if it was this part or like later, but he can name the chapter that this is from.
Yeah, so I kind of wonder, like, I don't know, there's different types of readers, right? Because sometimes there's things I'm just like, "Oh, they probably just took some liberties with that." And then there's other times where you're just like, "Oh, okay, this is something that's real, it's legitimate, like, they did some research here." It's kinda like, not that I am recommending this, and I feel like I need to put a trigger warning on it, but, like, it's kind of like the Outlander book series where the author and the trigger warning here just being that I'm not, like, recommending this because there's some really, intense themes in those books and in the show, but the author has done a ton of historical research. So a lot of the things about, like, the war and, the conditions in Scotland, the fight against the British, that stuff is pretty legitimate actually because of all the research that has gone into it, and you can tell, and there's like a pride there, and so yeah, if I'm reading that and have that context, I guess, but if I'm just reading it and I don't have the context for the historical fiction actually has the history in it, or in this case, the religion in it, then maybe I don't know, or maybe I don't pay attention. And it's kind of like, sometimes we watch shows where we're watching for one reason and one reason only, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
And then there was something else I noted just about the use of the Vodun religion. This is like I feel like this is an obligatory plot line for every rom-com show.
Yeah.
To have like it's usually either an African based religion or an Asian based religion or tradition that is like it becomes the reason for the ritual used, like something
And
that
it goes back to what you said about how it had like a Halloween feel. So it's kind of like it almost feels like they're trying to scare you about these other people. These, yeah, I don't know.
yeah. And
It made me uncomfortable.
yeah, and not that I'm trying to be like, oh, this is so problematic, because I think within the context of these types of shows it's a common occurring theme.
Yeah,
I mean, even the X-Files had several of these, right?
yeah, yeah.
And to be honest, fans typically rated those the worst because of many reasons that are not relevant here. But
Yeah,
I
bad law comes to mind. I think I've mentioned that before. I
yeah.
don't like that episode.
Yeah, yeah, and, the one with, actually, it was a voodoo episode. It was the one with the Haitian, refugees. There was an X-Files
From
episode with the Haitian refugees at the 93, 94 era of Haitian refugees, but it makes me think a lot of, like, this concept of strangers in strangers in our land, or people who don't belong here, or,
and they're
you know
scary, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they're like, and there's even a mention here of chicken blood. Right? Like,
yeah.
oh, something's been sacrificed. And I don't know. But yeah, it's common in this type of series, but I don't know. I'd
And
like to see
probably
it.
and it shows like the age, I guess, of the show too, like where it was like I would be really surprised to see something like this in 2025. So
Yeah. Yeah. We gotta talk later. But yeah, you're absolutely right. This is 16 years old. And I mean a lot of shows, again, a lot of shows at the time did it. I think The Minimalist is probably the standout because the one time they do veer into that territory, there's a lot of commentary surrounding like this is we should not be doing this, or this doesn't make much sense. But yeah, so I just also wanted to note sort of the use of a tradition that comes from another land and kind of puts people at odds with, our American tradition and beliefs and whatnot.
So next we go to Castle in his home office because she had asked him, "Do you still have your research?" He's like, "Oh yes, I do." But then it takes us to him reading from not from his notes, but from his book. Oh my god, this was so like in character for Castle, and I love that she calls him out on it. She's like, "Are you serious?" And she's about to leave, and because she's convinced that he's wasting her time because I mean, yeah, she's already read that book too. So and she calls him out on like Meredith. He's like,
Mhm.
"Well, why do you call her like you call her a deep fried Twinkie?" But he's insisting to her that as bad as she probably thinks that Meredith is, she's actually way worse. But I don't know, like I don't really see how like Beckett could have actually been thinking anything about Meredith at this point. She probably was just thinking it was all Castle's fault.
Yeah, like, she seems I don't know, she seems so unbothered by this, his reveal. Like, she's not bothered.
Yeah. And I don't think she necessarily should be at this point because it's still pretty early in their working relationship. So it made sense to me that this I
Mhm.
mean, it's a slow burn, but I don't think we're quite at the point where she's got like she's dealing with feelings or anything because I think she's probably still transitioning from fan and cop irritated she's got to work with like her author hero kind of thing and like the honeymoon period is over and she's just really irritated with him kind of thing.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I think she's still kind of in that in between period where she's just annoyed with him.
Yeah, and I think she sees this more if anything, right, like what you just said, like, he's being annoying about this. Like, why do you keep bringing this up? Like, I don't care.
Yeah. And so he tells her about a time where Meredith asked to take Alexis to lunch, and then she took her to Paris for lunch, apparently. He called her Auntie Mame on meth. And so I had to go look that up because I did not get the reference. And it's apparently to a 1958 comedy film. And Auntie Mame was a very feisty and flamboyant party girl auntie. So that's where that comes from.
Yeah. I can see that vibe.
Did you get the reference?
No, I'm not really a big classic movie person.
Yeah, me neither.
Um, I've seen I've seen a few movies from the '70s, but not really before then, so I would not call myself a film buff by any measure.
But so Beckett's leaving, but as soon as she opens the door, there's a woman outside, and she has just arrived with lunch. And so she stays because Castle says that's who that he. I guess she was like somebody that he had called to bring in. This was his actual like contribution. He was bringing in his source for Vodun and everything like that. So, but I liked how when they're eating, she starts critiquing what he actually put into the book, and he had
Yeah.
to be like, "Oh yeah, I took creative liberties."
Right, right. I took creative liberties. And yeah, so that was really interesting. Also, the food she brought, right, was from her own restaurant because
Yeah,
she
yeah.
said she studied abroad in Nigeria and just like kind of fell in love with the religion, the culture, and everything. And so she brought them food from her restaurant.
I was really hoping that they would show us like better like viewings of the food because I'm always curious about food when people are eating.
Yeah, and it's cow's foot soup is what she says it is, but I also
Yeah,
wondered if she was
yeah.
messing with Beckett.
I did look it up, and that is a thing in Nigerian cuisine. So
All right. All right. I watched someone make fufu the other night on TikTok. I'm into it.
So Beckett asks her if murder is part of the ritual, and the lady Michelle she denies it, and she says it's actually a peaceful religion practiced by millions. And that's when Ryan calls about another body, and that's when they go to the scene of Darcy Cho. She's positioned exactly like the first guy, and she's got defensive wounds. And then Beckett notices that there's a purse that's been torn up. And so they speculate that, oh, maybe she used it to defend herself, and that's why it's all cut up. But Castle says that the killer is looking for something, and he points to the charm. And he says it was put there because he still hasn't found what he's looking for. So I guess what they're trying to say here is that the ritual is being done because he's killing these people and he's trying to find something, and he's doing the ritual to, I guess, give him luck in find or pointing. I don't know, not luck, but he's trying to help himself by doing this ritual.
Yeah, or I don't get a sense of the ritual part of this because I was also thinking it could be like, there's some religions that have this idea of like the ferryman that takes you to the afterlife.
Yeah.
And so like, kind of like, oh, I sent these people to the afterlife prematurely, so I
But
need
didn't
to.
didn't they talk about the symbol though? Didn't was she said? Oh, it was from Michelle. She said it's an offering to Ogun, who is someone called upon to help find something.
Mm,
So that's what the
mm,
tie-in is.
okay.
Oh, actually, here's in my notes. This is actually the part where Ryan references the chapter of his book. Ryan is such a careful reader. Either that, or maybe he went home and he reread the book so that he could
Yeah,
research.
or maybe he's fresh, right? Because didn't he just start reading the books when
Yeah,
Castle came to work
yeah,
with him? Yeah.
yeah. He would have probably appreciated a live reading from the author in Castle's office.
Yeah.
So at school, Alexis is called into the office where she finds that her mother has just notified the principal that her grandfather passed away. And instead of looking sad, she just looks irritated. And I like the way they set this up because it tells you so much about the type of person that Meredith is. It tells you the type of person that Alexis is, and it's just because she's just like, I have a calculus test, and you can tell that you can immediately tell that this grandfather is not actually real.
Right.
And then it's confirmed though, because the principal is like, "Oh no, you, I'm sure you can make up your test, so you should go." And then outside, Alexis is like, "Grandpa died 6 years ago." So, and Meredith's priority is taking her shopping. So it just gives you this real I don't know, I just felt really bad for Alexis because they've already established that she has to parent her dad, but apparently she's going to parent her mom too whenever she comes into town.
Yeah, a couple things here because one, if I were in Alexis's shoes in high school, I would have wanted to go shopping.
Yeah, yeah.
First off. Second, especially when it's like your mom that you don't see, because I just get the sense that Meredith is about to drop a boatload of
Yeah,
cash, right?
yeah. Spent a
Um,
lot of money on her.
yeah, but then again, Alexis wants for nothing because of Castle, but
Yeah,
still.
yeah.
So that's one thing. The other thing is like, I was just sitting here thinking, like, how do two people like Richard Castle and Meredith ever decide they're going to have a child? Because they are both like adult children, basically. Because Meredith, and this is coming up, right? But like, Meredith is like another character who we know who maybe isn't quite as put together, right?
Yeah.
And that gets pointed out, and I think that there's a lot of teeth to that. But I just wonder, like, these two make a conscious choice to have a child, and like
I feel like
that was.
she was a happy mistake kind of thing. I don't see them just being like, yeah, let's have a kid, or maybe it was just like a drunken decision that
Yeah,
they had to just deal with later.
this is like that meme that's been going around now for a few years now, right? About like the joke with the I'm 32 and I just had a teenage pregnancy joke. That's what these characters remind me of. Like, no matter what age they are, it's going to be a teenage pregnancy.
Yeah, that tracks with them. But Alexis gives in and she makes a promise that they're not going to leave the city. So I guess she's thinking about Paris too.
Mhm.
So it transitions to back to the station. But I wanted to note that the transition shot shows them at the precinct, and I guess this changes later because they're supposed to be from the 12th later, right? When that's
Mhm.
established.
Yeah,
Yeah,
12th precinct.
yeah. So Ryan talks to Darcy's boss, and he's showing her pictures of the first victim to see if they're connected. Esposito gets an ID on the first victim, and he says he's an exchange student at NYU from Nigeria. And so they're going to try to find out the connection between them. So Castle and Beckett go to the first victim, Jamal's last known address, and they have to walk up 6 floors, which, oh god, that's not, uh I have a hard time walking. By the time, if I'm like walking upstairs, I by like the third floor, I'm like out of breath.
Yeah, so when our elevator goes down here, that is yeah, I live on the 18th floor.
Oh no, that's
Yeah.
terrible.
So so we just hope the elevator doesn't go out. I've only had to go down flights one time. I've never
Oh
had to come up all.
goodness.
I'm assuming it takes me about an hour, maybe. I don't know. I'd die. Okay. I'm a runner, but like stairs, that's a different beast.
Yeah, stairs is different. Yeah, it requires just so much
You're
more.
This is making me think I should start spending some time on the stair stepper though.
So they go up to the roof, and that's where they hear some people watching TV inside. And Beckett knocks, and they freak out because they think she's with immigration, and they deny knowing the victim Jamal. But then Castle notes like there's some things in the room that they saw from the crime scenes, which is the red cloth that they were both positioned on, and the candles that were burned there, but no bowls, no chickens. They bring one of the men, Ozzy, in for questioning, but he denies knowing Darcy, and he denies killing either of them. And he reveals that he's being this is like so he reveals that he was brought to the country by a guy named Charles Oni, and this guy took his passport basically, so he can't leave, he can't go home, kind of thing, and he's basically stuck. And that the victim Jamal was trying to save money to become a legal resident, but I guess the guy Jamal had taken something from Oni, and so that's why he's. I did he think that Charles Oni had killed Jamal?
I think so.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It ended up not being him. Esposito and Ryan report that Darcy had no connection to Jamal that they could find, and so they're kind of stuck until Meredith shows up. Casa looks super uncomfortable. He introduces the team to her. Esposito he just calls her the deep fried Twinkie.
Mhm.
Beckett steps forward, and Meredith calls her, "Oh, you're her new muse." And apparently, Alexis had been talking, but she totally did not expect her mom to just call her out on having been
Right.
gossiping. So the look in her face, she just looks like, "Oh my god, I can't believe she's saying this stuff." Uh, and this is where Meredith calls Castle kitten.
Yeah, and I mean, so what's so interesting about this is that Meredith is very clearly sizing up Beckett,
Yeah.
but again, Beckett remains unbothered.
But I love the reaction to this because the guys, they openly snicker, and Beckett turns to look at Castle like, uh-huh. But then Meredith notices the torn up purse on the murder board, and she says that it's the Sarah Jessica Parker purse. I'm assuming that's Sex and the City reference. I never watched Sex and the City, so.
Yeah, I don't know if Sarah Jessica Parker has ever designed her own line, but it's probably one that she carried in Sex and the City.
uh okay.
Probably.
So Meredith says that it's actually a fake. And so that leads Beckett to remember that Canal Street is where knockoffs are sold. And so that's their connection between the two victims, because the the guy Jamal would have been selling purses for the guy Oni down on Canal Street, and that's near to where Darcy works. So they're thinking that she went down there to buy a purse, and so that's like the connection.
Yeah, I just have to know like how much shopping Meredith does for purses specifically to be able to like look at that purse and be like the stitching's not right and like actually call it out because like I don't know, there are ways to tell that when things are knockoffs, like you know if the Louis Vuitton is not stamped the right way on the inside of the bag
Mm-hmm.
or the logo rather, and stuff like that, but still I'm like that's a lot of it's a lot of shopping, Meredith. A lot of purses for you to know that.
So next we go to home. Castle is looking at pages he's hanging up. Do you know what he's actually doing in this part?
No,
Because
I don't.
they don't say what those pages are, right? And why is
No, and
he like hanging them up on like some kind of line?
I'm not really sure, but I also think that this is meant to be more for Meredith, or not Meredith, Martha.
Yeah, yeah. So Martha comes home and tells him, "Why don't you get a cork board?" And she's like complaining about Meredith. So here we find out that Meredith and Martha don't get along, or at least Martha doesn't like Meredith, and she's like criticizing what she did to Alexis, but he like tells her, "Well, you kind of did the same thing to me."
Not to mention she's done this in the series already once, where she got Alexis out of school to go to that retreat with her.
Yeah. But then she asked Castle why he married her. And he's like, well, maybe it was because she reminded me of you.
Which
Uh,
I will say, he was saying it as a joke.
they're both
However,
redheads.
actresses, they are both actresses, redheads, like these really like eccentric type characters. You can tell this is also how Castle was raised.
Yeah.
And he mentions that too, right? Like with, the whole prep school stuff and yeah. But yeah, I think that's Martha's big thing is like Meredith is just like her and she does not really care for her.
She doesn't approve. Plus, I think it also has something to do with she probably feels on some level that she should be the only high maintenance redhead in his life right now.
Yeah. Also, there was like a bit of like tit for tat early on between her and Meredith when she made the comment about, her getting roles,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
Meredith is kind of prime age for getting acting roles, whereas Martha is, a little older and, sort
Mhm.
of just on the New York scene.
Next, they head down to Oni's shop on Canal Street and they find it trashed. And there's a lot of bags there that look like the one that Darcy had, and they're all torn up. And so that's when Beckett notices that they all have the inner lining torn out. So they think that there is something hidden inside. And so that's what they. And then Castle identifies a voodoo symbol painted on the floor, and it's a symbol for death. And I was thinking, like, when this happened, I was like, this guy sure has a lot of time after he commits his crimes to like trash the whole shop. And then he's very talented too, because his designs are very nice.
Mhm.
Right, like they look like the kind of thing where you get a stencil and you spray kind of thing. Is very clean lines and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, the art department, they were in their bag here.
But Castle seems distracted here. He's waving outside, and then he just goes outside. And across the street, he's looking into a window at I guess an electronics store. And this is actually a scene that gets used in the intro that they later put in. It's like an intro montage, and he says, "I really am ruggedly handsome, aren't I?" And so that's I had mentioned that another one was Martha at the bookstore saying, "The character he's basing on you." But yeah, this is
Yeah.
another scene that they take from that. And then inside the store, they talk to the owner, and he is like starting to go into like the things that people do when they're being recorded. And Castle's like starting to like talk about Beckett being grumpy, which seems to be a trend between shows where the male consultant tells everyone that the female detective is grumpy. Because Jane calls Lisbon grumpy. I think Lucifer does it to Chloe too at some point. But she fires back here and calls him kitten. Uh, but he had footage of but he doesn't have it with him because he sold it to someone just before. And he describes him, and then he says that he's got footage of him, and it's a big guy with a big scar across his face. Or outside, the team talks it out, and Esposito gets a call, and they found Charles Oni is trying to leave the country to go back to Nigeria. Okay, so he asks for a lawyer. And Beckett asks him, "Are you sure?" And then she keeps talking. So I want to discuss this a little bit because I had talked a little bit about this in our last Mentalist episode, where like the guy or the lady says, "Maybe I need a lawyer," and then she proceeds to like make some kind of like a lot of damning like testimony, or like she says a lot of things that implicates her in a lot of a crime. So it's just like, yeah, you needed a lawyer, lady. But in this, and so we're saying that the way that she worded it, maybe I need a lawyer, is not technically enough to make the cop stop. But here he specifically says, I want a lawyer. So is what Beckett does here legal? Because she doesn't immediately stop. She doesn't go and, tell someone, oh, he needs to make a phone call to call his lawyer. And is he not under arrest?
Well, I
Because
think
they detained him at the airport, which is enough to bring him in. So I don't know. I'm a little confused here.
yeah, if he is detained, not free to leave, then yes, he's technically detained. He's under arrest. Is my understanding. But the other thing is, I think creative license does a lot. But also, I mean, people don't know this, but it is. Yes, you have the right to remain silent. Yes, you have the right to speak to your lawyer. Yes, they're supposed to stop questioning once you ask. But the way that this works in reality is it has to be a very, very hard up. I demand a lawyer.
And then you actually stop
Period.
talking.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, there's nothing saying they can't keep talking to you,
Okay.
right? And your lawyer could later argue, well, they provoked that out of me.
Yeah.
But guys, the law is pretty cop friendly, pretty pro state. So yeah, I'm not a criminal lawyer, so I don't know the ins and outs. But I mean, my understanding is it has to be a very I demand a lawyer. I want a lawyer. Give me a lawyer right now. I'm not speaking to you anymore. I'm invoking my right to remain silent until I see a lawyer. Like it
Yeah,
has to be
so
pretty
so
hard
so
up.
like from like TV cop show land, I was just kind of squinting at this part, just like I feel like within the realm of television cop shows, what Beckett does here is not okay.
Oh no, like Jack McCoy would be screaming at somebody right now if this were Law and Order because he'd be like, "Why am I getting this motion to suppress? Did you not get him his lawyer like he asked?" But also, I would point out, or I think I think this bears a little bit more conversation because we kind of did open with how this type of story kind of feeds into this idea of strangers in our land.
Yeah.
And I mean, this person is technically he's a visitor to the United States. He's a Nigerian immigrant.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if that's meant to be permanent or temporary, but the point is, right, is, there's a lot of, I think, misunderstanding and like purposeful, how do I say this? Purposeful ways in which we deal with people who are immigrants and who may be afraid of the consequences or may not understand their rights.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, we know that police in your country wouldn't stop questioning you. So we're going to keep going too.
Yeah.
Or, you don't want to go to jail in Nigeria, do you? Stuff like that, that kind of takes advantage of someone's immigration status.
And then I wrote down that Castle had a lot of stubble in this scene. So what do you like? Do you think that was intentional? Like, is that indicating that he's like burning the midnight oil and like, or like, I don't know. Like, I just thought that was weird because he looks normally he just always looks clean cut, but in
Mhm.
this one he looked like he's been I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wonder if this was a scene that was filmed at a different time.
Uh
I wonder.
and they just used it. Cause yeah, I feel like we see him with this kind of stubble in like the pilot. That was like immediately what I thought back to. When he gets taken into the station,
Mhm.
to get talked to by Beckett. That was when he had stubble. But yeah, I feel like ever since then he's been pretty clean shaven and nicely dressed and everything. So Oni talks. He names a guy named Mukhtar Baylor. He says that he's known as the Butcher of Benin, and he's the one who killed Jamal and Darcy. And that's when they learn that documents, like I guess passports, were being sewn into the purse linings, and they didn't anticipate that the purse was going to show up on some kind of fashion blog or something, and that made, I guess, the purse really popular. So a bunch of people came and bought them, and so that's why the guy was scrambling to go after these people. He was trying to find he's trying to find documentation for his brother who's about to be
Mhm.
arrested back in Nigeria. And so that's his motivation. He's trying to find, I guess, somebody, the guy, the first victim, I guess he sold the purse that contained the passport. And so now he's tracking down all the buyers, and that's what he needed the footage for. So they go to
Yeah.
a warehouse to try to find the guy. And this is, I think, my favorite part of the episode, because Castle puts something in the trunk, and then when they're unloading, he takes out his brand new bulletproof vest with writer on it instead of police. And I love this because this is actually something I've dressed up as Richard Castle for Halloween with, and I made like my own like police vest with writer on it. And I actually made another version with editor on it, because since I'm an editor for that's like how I make my living. But I love this vest. It's so funny. It's so Castle. It's so cute.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think, and it's iconic, right? Because like I remember seeing someone. This was, I can't remember if it was 2013 or 2014, but I remember someone at Comic-Con was wearing a Rider vest, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I like Castle too," because like it's, that's Castle.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so iconic and easily recognized.
And actually, if you go to the Rom-Com Detective site, that's what I'm wearing in my profile picture. I forgot about that. But yeah, so Beckett does her usual, "You're gonna stay here, we're gonna go in." And then, but he still puts his vest on, so you know he's gonna go in. But yeah, he's following them in. He's sneaking along in the dark after them, and then his phone goes off, and it's dad, 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 dad. And so I like, from a tech standpoint, like it seemed like it was triggered to be this specifically because he got a 911 text from Alexis. So what kind of phone has that feature where like it'll have a different, like not ringtone, but notification kind of thing based on a 911 text? Or is that just like a thing in this TV show kind of thing? You know what I mean?
Well, I think he probably had it set for Alexis, right? Because we used to do that.
No, no. Okay, so you're saying that any text from him would say that?
So like maybe any text from Alexis would go, "Dad, Dad, Dad."
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
thought it was specifically for the 911 text.
Well, because he had to look at his phone first to see that it was a 911 text.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
yeah, I think maybe that's it. Because yeah, I mean, for our younger listeners, we used to have text ringtones for different people. And also just normal ringtones for different people. And now we all just keep our phones on silent. It's great.
I do want to say that my current ringtone is the castle music. I actually had my phone ring while I was recording a different episode, and it was a castle one, and it was not for the castle unit. So I was like, "Oh,
Nice.
okay." So, but everybody turns around and looks at him like, "Really?" And so he says he's gonna go outside to answer it, and outside it's not Alexis, it's actually Meredith, and she only put the 911 to trick him into into calling him back, because she knows that he wouldn't call her back, and she's calling to ask, "Can you co-sign a loan with me?" And it's only 1.6 million. Oh my gosh. But he tells her no, and then while she's like trying to lay her guilt trip on him, he sees the guy that they're looking for, the guy Baylor. He's driving off in his SUV. uh, and so next, like, we go to Beckett and Castle, or Beckett and the guys, and they're questioning him, but he can't give them any details.
Hmm.
And to be fair, he was having a very stressful call with his deep fried Twinkies. he was
Right.
She had just thrown like a big whopper at him again, so he was distracted. I gotta give him some leeway here.
Also, it was kind of an unreasonable ask, and I don't know why I don't know. Like he should just be like no, but I think I was getting the sense that he was gonna give in to her and do it because she used Alexis, right? Like,
Yeah,
"Oh, but I want
yeah.
her to be comfortable when she comes over." It's only a one-bedroom, but, like, I want Alexis to be comfortable when she's visiting. Like, you don't want me to live somewhere that's like and she didn't say this, but the implication, right, is that, like, if he doesn't co-sign this loan for this really nice one-bedroom apartment, then she's gonna have to take something that's subpar, and when Alexis visits her, she's gonna be uncomfortable.
And yet it's a
Like
one bedroom, so it kind of sounds like Alexis would sleep on the couch anyway.
right, right, or the idea that I mean, Alexis would probably never stay there, right? She would just go
Yeah,
home.
yeah. But do you think the ribbing that they give him about they're just giving him crap about it? Like they don't really or
No,
do you feel like they actually expected him to at least give them something?
yeah, like, to give them something, but also too, like, he's clearly distracted, right? And these are,
Yeah.
like, trained cops. They don't get distracted when they're out. Because I mean, Espo even said what did he call it? He called it attack something, tack op or something like that, and he's like, "We were on a tack op." Like, they were, in the zone, and, Castle's out here dealing with this stuff and just watches the guy drive away and can't give him anything.
So they go inside to check the warehouse, and that's where they find the camera footage that the guy had bought. And so they watch that, and Castle points out that the woman buying the purse is that a different woman, not the victim Darcy, was buying a purse, and she's carrying a yoga mat. So now they want to track down a woman, this woman who's buying the purse because she's probably going to be the next target because he had this footage and he's looking for the purse. So they got to try to find her quickly. So they start looking for yoga studios and like they look at like a coffee cup in her hand. And I like this little bit. I like little things like this where they have to like pay attention to little details to find things. So I like that. But Castle speculates that they're looking for a studio that has a class that ends around 3. And Beckett's like, well, what if the class is starting at 3? And he tells her a coffee would throw off a person's cheese. So I guess he's gone to yoga.
Or he's dated some people who have.
Yeah. Or maybe researched it for a book.
Yeah.
But they go down to the yoga studio, and the front desk lady, she recognizes her immediately, and she says that that's Beckett's the second cop coming to look for her. And so they have a sense of urgency now because he's obviously found out where this lady is. So they go to her apartment and they find the bag, and Beckett tears it open. I was like, is Beckett secretly She-Hulk? Because she just rips that. I know that it's a knockoff, and okay, the stitching is bad according to Meredith, but can, have you ever tried to just rip something off of a purse like that? It's
No.
not easy.
Because even though it's a knockoff, it's still stitched.
It's still stitched, yeah. So yeah, I was just like, whoa, she just tore that open like it was nothing. But she finds the passport inside, and Diana asks if she's in trouble, and this is where Castle says, no, but from now on, always buy retail.
And I bet she will.
So Beckett's calling for backup, but just then Castle looks at I don't know why they left the door open. I guess they were in a hurry. But the guy Baylor is the butcher of Benin. He's standing in the doorway and he starts shooting at them. Beckett pushes Beckett to the ground, so he technically saves her life.
Mhm.
This comes back later. But they have a shootout in this lady's kitchen, and Castle distracts him with a bottle of wine.
I thought it was champagne.
Oh, okay.
'Cause, like, that's what people do sometimes, like, they'll,
Yeah, yeah. But then Castle distracts him and Beckett shoots him. And to celebrate that they're still alive, Castle just drinks from the bottle. And in the hallway, Beckett says that Castle might have saved her life. Can't really admit it, but he insists that he did and that he deserves to get what he really wants. And this was kind of a moment. I felt like they were like leading up to something. Um, and he says she knows what that is, but then he moves in and whispers, "Never ever call me kitten." And then at home to wrap things up with Alexis and Meredith, she comes into his office and asks him is it okay to love someone but not want them around all the time? And I loved how quickly he like closes his laptop. He's like snapping to attention. It's time to
Mhm,
be Dad Castle, right? He just goes, he sits by her and he talks about it, and I like that about them. I always like their little father daughter relationship moment. So I like that part.
mhm,
She admits that Meredith drives her crazy. And as if on cue, Meredith arrives and she's got news. She's been offered a role in a new indie film, and so she's got to put her plans on hold. Alexis thanks her for taking her shopping, and Meredith and Martha say goodbye. Alexis or Meredith makes some scathing remarks to Martha, very casually burns her, which I
mhm.
thought was hilarious. And I like this scene because it just shows like Castle in the middle of these three redheads, these three prominent redheads in his life.
Yeah.
He's surrounded by redheaded women. But yeah, Meredith kisses Castle goodbye and says, "Next time, top 10." So that is foreshadowing. We'll see what happens there. But when she's gone, Alexis asks what he did. He says he called his business manager. So basically, he's arranged for her to have this role so that they can be rid of her.
Mhm.
Uh, but Martha can't resist asking if there was a role for her.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're gonna hook your ex-wife up with a role, but not your mom, Castle?
And yet, at the same time, would Martha really want to work on a small
No.
part while Meredith is the star? I feel like that would be like fireworks of a whole different level.
No, but I mean, I feel like this tells us a lot about, like, Meredith because, like, she's all locked in, like, "I'm moving back, and I'm gonna hang out with Alexis more, and we need to spend more time together," and then as soon
And
as
then
she
she
gets a
just
role, she's
drops
out.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And yet, I feel like they do a good job making it okay because Alexis has just admitted to Castle that her mother drives her crazy. And so this is not something that she wanted anyway.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I thought they handled it well. Okay, watches. Beckett's hair is slowly getting longer. It's like shoulder length now.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
and
it's getting longer. It's flared out a little bit more this week, I think, compared to episode 5, maybe. Maybe not. Maybe not, you know. But then our pop culture references, we obviously had Sex in the City. I didn't
mhm.
know any notable songs in
Yeah,
this.
there was a song at the end, but it wasn't something that I knew upon hearing it right away. So I'd have to go look that up. Author's notes, like we mentioned, this is the first use of the writer vest. And it comes back every now and then. Casket Corner, uh, the Never Ever Call Me Kitten. It was kind of like a tense moment where you're they're kind of insinuating one thing, but they turn it into something else. So it's kind of like they had I feel like it's like a subtle toying with like the will they won't they here,
Mhm.
and it just tells you that it's not quite ready to start baking yet.
Yeah.
They're still in the pre burning.
Yeah, I mean, and there's still tension though, right? Like there's always been tension between these two. That's just never it's not the fire has not been lit yet, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. So bestseller list scenes. I like I said when Council reveals his writer vest to Beckett. He's just so proud of it.
And for me, it really is when he calls Alexis, but it's Meredith, and he goes outside and he's just busy dealing with her as the suspect drives off because, like, that is such a castle thing to happen. Um, and he's just because he's like, yeah, trying to stop him with his
Yeah,
hand, basically, like,
he's like,
oh,
there's a guy, there's a
there's a guy,
guy.
yeah, and it's just so castle, right? And he's like, oh, I'm gonna be in trouble. I forget exactly what he said, but he's like, he knew he was gonna be in trouble for that.
Yeah, I like his line where he's like, "It's very hard being a witness. I don't know how you guys ever get a conviction." But then I also like the burn on Martha at the end. She's like, "Besides, it's not like Broadway's going anywhere. I can always do theater when I'm too old for high def."
That was a burn on Martha. That was terrible.
Oh, it was rough. It was
So
brutal.
rough. Yeah.
But oh my god, it was still a funny moment. So
Yeah. But it's also like I don't know because there is that tension, between theater and television and film.
mhm.
And yeah, it's a very snotty thing to say, Meredith. So for me, I really liked that scene in the beginning with Ryan when he's like talking about Vadoon and he's like, "What? I read." It just cracks me up because I have no doubt that he's a reader, but I think like meeting Castle and like getting started on those Derek Storm novels have really just set him off on a path. And
Yeah, because in the pilot, right? Like at the first crime scene, Beckett's like, "Don't you guys read?"
right. Well, now Ryan does. He reads
Yep, yep.
Castle's books. And then the other one just being, and this is, I'm going to slightly paraphrase it because it's the end that got me. It's when Meredith and Alexa show up at the station. And so everyone's meeting for the first time. And he's like kind of staring between Meredith and Kate. And he's like, kind of commenting on the meeting and, talking about how he's dreamed of this moment. Only I'm naked and less uncomfortable. So I get a strong sense of what Castle's been dreaming about.
That whole scene was just nicely done.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a short break and we'll come back with a new Beckett's interrogation. I think Neoshia is very confident in herself this week, right?
I'm confident, Crystal, but I have to tell you that, I saw a TikTok earlier that I need to send you. It's proof that trivia is problematic.
In what way?
Trivia is problematic in the way that I never get it right. You never you never ask me questions that I can answer. That's why it's problematic.
All right. The way this works is I will ask 5 questions of increasing difficulty about the episode we just discussed, plus a bonus question, and you'll have 5 seconds to come up with an answer. All right. First question: what does Castle use to distract the killer Baylor?
So you called it wine earlier, but I think it was a bottle of champagne.
Yeah, yeah. So, because it does pop in, right?
It
So
fizzes,
it's
yeah.
enough to be a distraction. Question 2: what does Esposito think Vodun is?
Mm. Witchcraft?
He calls it some Star Trek thing.
Oh, okay.
Question 3: what is the name of the Derek Storm book that Castle did his Vodun research for?
I don't know. Ryan would know.
Ryan would know. Probably Beckett too. It's Unholy Storm.
Unholy Storm. Got it.
So do you own any of the Castle books? I only own
I
the first one.
don't
Or
actually.
the first Nikki Heat one, I think. Yeah.
I don't.
So for people listening, if see, there's my Castle ringtone. So for people listening who don't know this, because I watched Castle like maybe 2 full times all the way through before I realized that there's actually Castle books that have been written by a ghost written and then published under Richard Castle. I find it hilarious and it's really cool. All right, question 4. What is the brand of the purse that is at the center of this episode?
Sarah Jessica Parker.
No,
No.
it's a known brand.
Oh. Oh shoot. So it's a known brand?
It just so happens that she was spotted carrying this bag. That's why she calls it Sarah Jessica Parker purse.
So it's not. Is it a Kate Spade? No, Michael Kors.
No, it's Chanel.
Okay.
I should have. I think you'll know this one. I should have made this a question earlier. Question 5. What kind of stew does Castle trick Beckett into eating?
Cow's foot.
And bonus question: what is the this actually should have been question 5. I'm really bad at arranging these. So, what is the name of the coffee shop that they head to look for the lady Diana?
It's something brew. I don't know.
It's Java Loft.
Java Loft. Yes, I'm renewing my earlier statement about trivia being problematic. If you ever ask questions I can answer.
All right. Any last thoughts?
No, just overall, I think this one was a good episode for character development and getting
Mm-hmm.
to meet Meredith and lots of great guest actors. Don't know that I love the story overall, but I think it was a good episode nonetheless.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Some parts of it were problematic, but it was still an enjoyable and funny episode. I like all the little character building details that they put in. Yeah, it was fun.
Yep.
So, if you're enjoying Rom-Com Detectives, we hope you'll consider taking a minute to leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. For our question of the week, leave us a comment on Spotify, YouTube, or Reddit and tell us whether you've ever had a deep fried Twinkie. And by that, I mean a real deep fried Twinkie. I've never had one. Have you?
Mm-mm. I have not.
Yeah. So if you'd like to join additional conversations about Castle, you can visit the Castle subreddit at reddit.com/r/CastleTV. To contact me and Neoshia, email us at host@romcomdetectives.com. Follow us on Instagram, Threads, or Blue Sky at romcomdetectives, or leave us a voicemail or text message at 1-650-733-XOXO or 9696. This episode of Rom-Com Detectives was recorded on October 6, 2025. Rom-Com Detectives Cast Unit is co-hosted by Crystal Watanabe and Neoshia Roemer and is produced by Pico's House. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you guys next time for our breakdown of Episode 7, Home is Where the Heart Stops. Bye.
Bye, everyone.